All right, welcome back. So in this video, as well as the next couple of videos, I'll keep them really short, I promise. I'm going to talk about my setup, the tools that I use. It's really one tool, the editor, as well as a couple of free extensions that I recommend you install. So you're free to do whatever you want, of course, to follow along. If you have an editor that you prefer, whether it's something expensive and fancy like WebStorm or Sublime Text, which is one I still highly recommend, though it's not the editor I'm actually going to use in this course, and I'll talk about why in just a moment. But if you have something you like, go ahead and use that. But if you want sort of the best, easiest experience, the tools I'm going to show you are free, very easy to install, not complicated. So I recommend you do this if you're up for it, if you're not strongly tied to something else. So there's 4 videos I'm going to do here. They're all going to be very short. But the first one, I'm just going to introduce the editor, which is called Visual Studio Code, VSC or VSCode. It's actually put out by Microsoft, but it's open source, it's free, there's a large team behind it. It's basically a better version of Sublime Text, in my opinion. And I've been a Sublime Text sort of evangelist for a long time, recommended it to my students in all my other courses. I still recommend it, but there's a couple differences. One, there's a large team behind this. Sublime Text, on the other hand, is one person. 2, Sublime Text is not technically free. It has a very lenient free trial. You can ignore the notifications asking you to pay for it, but technically you're supposed to pay for it. VS Code is completely free. But on top of all of that, it's more featured. It comes with a lot of things out of the box that in Sublime Text you have to install manually. And it's also just generally cleaner and more streamlined, in my opinion. So I recommend it. If you want to follow along, just click download. Depending on your platform, it should automatically detect. So I'll go ahead and do that. And once it finishes, you'll see something like this once you open it up. It might not look exactly like this, but I uninstalled everything as far as I could find that had to do with this on my computer. I reinstalled it. It may have remembered some of my settings, but I tried to delete every sort of trace of it. A couple things to point out. We have this tab or this window over here, or I guess it's more of a nav bar. It has a couple different categories here. Let me make this full screen for now. So this is called the Explorer, and this is where if you have files open, you'll see them listed. For example, I'll go and open a folder. I'll open this folder I made called Demo. It just has a couple of dummy files. It doesn't matter what's in them. And you can see I get a new window and I have all the files and I can toggle between them. Like I said, they're empty for now, but that's sort of the basic interface for just viewing and editing files. Of course, type your code in here, Command S on a Mac, I believe Control S to save. What else? If I close this down, this is search, which we may use at some points. It's pretty good search, actually, if you're looking across an entire directory, like 100+ files. This little tab is for source control, which we're not going to worry about, Git and similar things. This is for debugging, which doesn't really apply to this course. We're not writing much code that would benefit from this, not much JavaScript. But this tab at the very bottom has to do with extensions. And come back to this. Let me make this a little larger. This is one of the things I really like. It's sort of a app store, if you will. Everything's free, but you can visually install things just by clicking around. Unlike Sublime, you had to sort of type some commands in to install. So there's a couple things I'll show you. This is where I'll actually go and install. We're going to use an extension, 2 extensions. One for my color scheme, if you care about that, but 2, it's called Live Server, and we'll find it here. But you can also look at popular extensions by typing @popular, and you can see these are some of the most popular extensions right now. And if you wanted one of them, whatever you want, let's say, I don't know, something for paper color, which changes your color scheme. I don't actually really like this one very much, but if you wanted it, you click install. And that's pretty much it. So it's really useful. I really like this extension, installer, shop, whatever you want to call it. Now, as far as settings, if you want to tweak the settings on your own, you can do Command, comma on a Mac, and I believe it's Control, comma on a PC. And this opens up your user settings on the right, and then over here are the default settings. And you can actually change these over here. Like if I want to change the font size, which is what it has right here, if I try to edit it, I can't do anything. It says cannot edit in read-only editor. So this is showing me the settings, and then I can update them over here. So I already have this zoom level changed because I, a couple minutes ago, zoomed in. But if I wanted to change another setting, like editor.font size, I can set it to 18, like this, and save. and you can see this just reloaded and gave me a larger font size. Or I could shrink it down. Things like that. I'll make mine larger just because you're looking at my screen, but you definitely don't have to do that. Otherwise, you can tweak all of this, and I'll show you some more visual stuff around font, colors, and icons in just a bit. But that's pretty much the basics to the editor itself. We'll spend most of our time in the course over here, where we will open new folders. So we'll look at an entire folder like this. Okay,